On this week's show, we're discussing PlayStation's year ahead for 2025, what their exclusive studios are up to, and if they've got any surprises in store for the next 12 months. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. We're back! Good game, everyone, and welcome back to your weekly gaming podcast, the GamerGuild Podcast, where we get together to round up all of the video game news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and available up there in the digital clouds on your podcast platform of choice. Just search for GamerGuild TV or the GamerGuild Podcast and you'll find us there every Monday, 8 a.m. Ready to go live, round everything up. We're back, it's 2025. Your podcast players for the week are myself, Chris, at Arcane Rogue, and the returning man of many pixels, Mr. Richie. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everyone.
How have you been?
I've been quite good. Regular listeners will obviously know that we always take a break during Christmas, but if you're new here and wondering why we're saying we're back when we released an episode literally last week, is we haven't actually recorded for like 3 weeks at this point by the time we sat down to record.
Yeah, it feels very rusty. Like, we've seen each other. We've gone out for Christmas drinks with our friends, and we've had people around houses and whatnot. So it's not like we haven't seen each other. But yeah, we kind of get a double episode in the bag. And usually the way Christmas and New Year's lands, it can sometimes feel like an eternity between sitting down in the studio and just getting an episode in. So it's interesting. It's
been quite a busy Christmas break for me. I've tried not to overdo it, but I am basically about 85% done on going through all of my crap in my house, getting rid of what I don't need, and giving the whole thing a good scrub down. What's thwarted me, the reason I didn't get it all done, is the skip closes. So I've got tons of stuff to take to the tip that I can't. So it's just piled up in my house, so which means that my living room is full of stuff that needs to go to the skip I can't get rid of yet.
Burn it all to the ground, house included.
Which means I can't clean my living room. So I try not to overdo it, but I was doing during my Christmas break, a couple of hours a day, maybe spend like half the day there just grafting. It's amazing how much crap you can accumulate.
Oh, mate, as someone who's got a 1.5-year-old at Christmas, the amount of cardboard and plastic and just gifts that are built up for that. And again, similar scenario, like trying to get it all down to the skip. Our bin collections conveniently lined up quite well this time round, where I was able to get rid of the bulk of the cardboard and paper stuff almost 2 days after Christmas, and then
it's
recycle
not just
again.
Like cardboard and paper, it's just random cables and stuff like that in boxes, where because I'm moving in with someone who already has a house and already has stuff. We're taking we have 2 houses worth of stuff to condense into 1 house worth of stuff.
Yeah, and who has the better
stuff?
What
do I need? Yeah, she does for the most part.
She have the better Xbox.
So it's like what? She doesn't have an Xbox.
There you go then. See, points to you.
She has the better Switch.
Yes, you are. But it's an interesting one. Lots of stuff to do. Of course, I'm sure our viewers, audience out there, have hopefully had a fantastic Christmas with loved ones, and they've all been very, very busy. But yeah, it's an interesting one when we get back to kind of talking about gaming news, because traditionally the gaming industry almost shuts down completely over Christmas. They all take two weeks or more off, unless the poor developers who are working on live service games as the service titles. Unfortunately, they need a skeleton crew ticking things over. And they'll be slowly trickling their way back into the office probably from next week, which means the news feed also tends to slow down, which for us who do a weekly news podcast kind of slows things down. So we always like to take the beginning of every year to almost like assess the 12 months ahead. So we've got 2025 laid out. It's going to be no doubt an amazing year for video games all over again. I don't think we've had a bad year for video games since we started covering the industry, definitely.
No, not really. I mean, when we were covering Stadia, there was some bad years, but there was good stuff happening elsewhere.
Yeah, in the industry as a whole has been fantastic, and there's some big things coming up, but we always start all of our shows with obviously talking about what we've been playing. But before we get into all that, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell if you haven't done so already. Ring in the new year with a ring-a-ding-ding of the GamerGuild TV bell. So you kept in the loop with all the great content, of course. We'll be back this year with all of the same amazing stuff that you're used to. Our weekly live streams every Thursday, me and Richie and sometimes friends get together with you, our wonderful community, and play through some games, whether it's community games or it's single-player narrative games or just a bit of multiplayer. We tend to go through that. Our full intention is, of course, to get back to some of the regular ones this time. We've got Halo 3 lined up. We've got Gears of War 3 lined up as well. We will probably start later this week, so if you're watching this on a Monday, check out the channel for later this week where we'll be diving into something new. And I think we said pre-show, Richie, we're kind of open to where we start the year. If you would like to see us jump straight back into Halo, let us know in the comments below. If you'd like to see us take on Gears of War 3 and kind of flip the script a little bit instead of ping-ponging back and forth, let us know. If you would like something entirely new, let us know. There's many new games came out. There's many retro games came out, and I think we're pretty open to just seeing kind of what we want to go through together. Ideally co-op of some sort, I guess. But then again...
Yeah, that's ideally co-op. When we sat down to record, we were just like, where do you want to start? Our stream's like, well, I'm feeling a series, so we've got a run of Thursdays where we both should be free, which is perfect for us doing an ongoing series. And like, where do you want to go? It's like, let's just ask you. What do you want to see?
What would you like to see? Let us know in the comments down below if there's anything in particular. But of course, we are open to everything. I know we had a couple of people in the New Year's kind of questionnaire that they put out reference a couple of things. So just let us know if we get the majority vote. We're more than happy to dive into that one. Don't forget, we do have a merchandise store too. So do start your new year with some fresh swag. Head over there. I believe, Richie, if I'm not mistaken, there was like a New Year's sale. I feel like we made a big deal of it at the end of the last episode. Was it like January 1st to the 6th?
Something like that. I can't.
So if you're watching this on the Monday, this might be the last day for the sale. I think it was 20 or 30% off. So head on over to it now and check that one out. But of course, we have been off work, Richie, for a little bit of time, spending it with loved ones and stuff. What have you been playing this festive season in your downtime?
During my downtime. So I've been playing quite a bit of Metaphor. I reckon we're about 3/4 away through the story now.
Oh, so you put a dent in it.
So I've made a decent dent. But other than that, it's still amazing game, still loving it. Other than that, I have helped my girlfriend get the platinum in Lego Horizon Adventures.
Oh, hey. So I'll collect that again on Monday. And
I'm 2 missions away from finishing the story myself in Lego Horizon Adventures.
Oh, okay.
And after that, it's just leveling.
The grind.
It's just the grind to get everyone. I'm going to try and get it done this weekend.
Yeah.
Because it's one of them. I want to get that platinum because it's fairly easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can give it back to you.
Wonderful.
So I've completed Lego Horizon Adventures twice.
Nice. It is a fairly short game, but it is a nice palate cleanser, right?
It is. My only gripe is the same gripe my girlfriend has, is it's not a proper Lego game. It's missing. It's very simplified. You can't break 90% of the things in the world. There's no real puzzles to solve by building stuff.
Yeah.
It plays more like a simplified top-down Horizon game with Lego features.
Yeah, so like her Horizon platformer, isn't it? Rather than
yeah,
I am curious to know with the Lego license in hindsight, like how much TT Games, WB, who obviously run pretty much every game made from Lego. I wonder what limitations or rules they kind of governed with the Lego license to say, like, you can have it, you can make a Horizon game, you can put it on all these platforms, but you can't just make a Lego clone game because that's our bread and butter. You need to do something different. To like, because then again, people might start, like, if they made the Horizon game and it did end up being an absolute stinker, it might reflect poorly on the Lego franchises. So I'm curious to know like what the politics maybe went on behind the scenes.
To
do this.
It's not the game I would have expected out if you've played a lot of Lego games. A lot of them are quite open world, which lends itself nicely to Horizon, which is open world.
Yeah.
It's not. You base yourself around Mother's Heart and you just go off. There's 4 biomes to go to. Each has a handful of missions, which you can't replay the missions. Mm-hmm. You just get the explanation at the end.
That was a thought was going to help me with the grind at the end, and then it's like, no, that's not what we do here. We just have to go to the random places.
It does feel quite simplified. I honestly wonder what could have happened if they spent another year on it, made the game a bit bigger.
Yeah, you could see places where they could definitely expand. Like I got to the end and I'd pretty much had enough studs to buy everything needed for the trophies. But I do appreciate at the same time they held back a little bit on the trophy list, because they could have gone hard and said, like, you need every building unlocked, and they didn't. It was only about, I'd say, 70% of them they really cared for. So I guess upon completion, Richie, would you quite happily play another version of this game in, say, 3 years' time, just playing through Forbidden West in this kind of guise?
Yes. I don't think the story is as close to Horizon Zero Dawn's as you alluded to.
Right.
There's a few beats that are along the same path, but I feel it's its own game.
Mm-hmm.
I would play a sequel to it. I think the price might be a bit steep for the amount of game, though.
I think it was 49, right? I think.
Yeah, so 50 quid. I feel like it's that 10 quid probably a bit too steep for what is actually maybe a 5 to 10 hour game.
Yeah.
If you just mainline the story.
Yeah, I think 35 to 40.
It's a 10-hour platinum. So that's... I feel I'd want more than 4 biomes. Yeah. I'd want more than 4 characters.
Yeah, that's a fair shout.
And Teaser sucks. She just sucks.
Oh, yeah, with her chicken bombs.
Chicken lady.
Yeah. I feel like they ran out of ideas with her to do something different.
Errand was kind of crap as well with his hammer. It just didn't quite work in some situations. But
yeah, I wanted to default to pretty much Aloy for most of it. And
I played most of it as Val. In my first playthrough with my girlfriend, she was Aloy, I was Val.
I played it on my own, though, that's why,
yeah.
So I didn't pick and choose.
Another slight gripe as well with the co-op is, in previous Lego games, it goes split screen, dynamically. They've got rid of that, and what it does is it just teleports you, regardless what you're doing or where you are, to the other character. And if you're going through an area transition and you're more than 2 paces away, it will do the full teleport you over, which is actually slower than let me just walk.
Yeah, it's ironic in a way. I guess because this is a PlayStation centric podcast this week due to how we're going to stagger these. For those who aren't maybe aware of what's happening, is we'll do a PlayStation one first, then we'll probably do an Xbox and Nintendo over like every single week leading through January, building up to basically what is going to be a big year ahead. But because they all are so quiet this time of year, we just want to look ahead really and think back. And this one's going to be the PlayStation one. I think purely because some PlayStation games for the PS Plus dropped this week, so it was like, oh well, there's some PlayStation news. We'll tie.
We have one bit of news.
With one bit of news to build into it. But talking of Lego Horizon Adventures and PlayStation, what other IP would you maybe want them to pivot over to and pick up in this style now?
In this particular Lego style.
This studio, you've done Horizon. Yeah. You could move on to a sequel, but PlayStation might go, actually, we'd like you to tackle this IP instead from our exclusive library. What would your immediate go-to be?
The first thing that came to mind was God of War.
Okay, like smashing stuff, bricks, makes sense.
Yeah.
A couple of characters.
With the kind of reboot God of War, so the Norse pantheon.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got his hammer. Well, not his hammer, his axe, because that could work quite well. Other than that, Last of Us could be a bit out there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure if Last of Us would work.
Yeah, like the stealth elements and stuff.
Uncharted could work. Because, maybe you might have to take a slight change with Uncharted, where, and some Lego games where you're locked to certain characters for the mission.
Yeah.
But then you can replay again as any character.
Mm-hmm.
You might have to do that with an Uncharted. But that could work, because it's usually Nathan Drake plus someone else on most missions in Uncharted.
Yeah, that's true.
So that could work.
I think Horizon works well because it is a lot of like physical punching and hitting.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one's a bit more, you're at a distance with a gun. So I don't think that translates that well to Lego.
Aloy's using a bow, so for Lego, gun versus bow.
I think the bow has that like the tactile nature of like pulling back and aiming then releasing, whereas a gun is just bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
Bang. But yeah, it's interesting. There's obviously stuff to go into, and this isn't a PlayStation first party studio, so again, they could just like cut their losses now and go, it was worth a punt. Idea?
I've just thought of something. Yeah, Infamous. It's a bit of a dead IP. It could be a way of testing the waters.
Yeah, there's a lot of traversal.
These anyway in Lego, a lot of Lego games.
Yeah,
and you could have different characters with different powers to traverse differently.
Yeah. What about?
And you could probably have the license to tell your own story within it as well.
I would have thought so. What about Ghost of Tsushima? Get up close with some swords.
You could do that, but
Lego Japan.
I'm thinking you probably need at least 4 key characters, and does Ghost of Tsushima have that? You've probably got 2.
Maybe bundle it with Ghost of Yotei.
Yeah.
Just call it Lego Ghosts or something. What about...
Spider-Man would be easy. Let's just move on. Yeah,
Lego Astrobot. Just another Astrobot game, but everything's Lego.
I mean, there's some levels that in Astrobot that might as well have been Lego. They're quite Minecrafty in some levels, didn't they?
Oh, yeah, that's true. The retro stuff, very true.
Yeah, I mean, it'd work.
But do you need too much Astrobot? There's no such thing. That's interesting. So anything else you've been playing then, otherwise?
Pokemon trading card game.
Pokemon trading card game. I dabbled a little bit more over Christmas, but I think, again, if I don't get the notifications, my brain doesn't remember it at all. So,
all right, I've got into a habit of just playing.
That's fair. Part of your routine. In terms of what I've been playing, I've actually had quite a quiet season. I know we clocked off 2 weeks ago saying like, oh, all this time off work and here we go. And in all honesty, I've just spent time with family and friends and loved ones and chilling out. Watch the Lord of the Rings movie, watch some
fake
Christmas
gamer
movies.
right here.
I know, fake gamer. I've played a couple of games of FC24, as you do, like those little half an hour windows that we always talk about. And it's just that. And we'll probably get into it in the podcast. There was actually a question I'll pull from. I was going to save it to the end of the show, but I'll bring it up now. One of our Discord members, Gary, wrote in the Discord server, just like you can. Actually, there's a whole thread for podcast questions if you ever want to write in for the show, saying, do you ever set yourself any gaming goals for the year ahead? Any amount of platinums that are wanted, total number of games you intend to play, or just take the year as it comes? I know life gets in the way, especially with families and work, so just curious of how you tackle things. And it was interesting because the question dropped in our Discord kind of as I was in this place of Christmas was starting to wind down. I'm thinking ahead to getting back to work where time is limited once again. And I finished it, obviously, Indiana Jones just before Christmas. And looking ahead, there isn't really anything big on the horizon for me until Ghost of Yotei and maybe Grand Theft Auto 6. I like my big 2 tentpoles for 2025 that I know I'll be there day one to play. I guess Assassin's Creed Valhalla in February, so there's probably a big game lined up for me. But I did have this kind of period over Christmas where it was just like, I don't really have anything to play. There's nothing really I want to play. And I sat, as you do, like looking at my shelf of discs and stuff, thinking, could start Cyberpunk, not really feeling it. Could go back to The Witcher, not really feeling it. You know, when you just kind of just I don't want to commit to anything because my brain's telling me I've got a whole year ahead of new games, but there's not actually that much that's in mine. And I think the same goes for you. So I guess to Gary's question, I don't set any particular goals. I do have a list of platinum trophies that I look at and think I always try and one-up myself every year, but then having a child kind of has limited that to it. I think I got like 12 platinums last year, I think was the total. So it's a good cadence, but just a little mix. I guess over to you, Rich. Is there anything in particular you scope out for the year ahead for games, or just take it as it comes?
Usually just take it as it comes. I feel I'm in a fairly healthy spot with gaming where I only buy games that I actually want to play. I only buy them when I want to play them. I try to avoid just panic buying because something's £5 off in a sale that I might not ever get to. So I'm quite healthy there. I like to get my platinum trophies or 100% games, but if I feel like I'm burning out on a game before I get it, like it did last year with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I'm happy to just walk away and then move on to something new. I'd like to try and play more games day and date, but I'm also not going to really set that as a goal because then am I just playing the game because it's new? I'm happy to wait for the right time. So, like, I'd like to play Indiana Jones, but I don't know when I will. So I'm not stressing out over it. I wouldn't want to set myself a goal in terms of number of platinums wanted, because while I do like platinum trophies, I don't really consider myself a trophy hunter in that sense. I'm not playing games. For me, it's not about getting trophies. Getting trophies is a little extra cherry on the cake of what gaming is to me. Like, I like to get them trophies, but I'm not playing a game for the sake of getting trophies.
Yeah,
I never have really.
I think that's something you make that decision in probably your early to mid 20s when you have all the time and supposedly disposable income that you should have, because you're at that perfect place in your life where time and money is usually at a rich point. In terms of it, I guess the year ahead, I think if anything, we just plan more for the show and the channel than we do our personal lives now because of the nature of content creation. We're thinking about you out there.
I think maybe over the back half of last year, we could have been a bit more consistent. Me more so than you with the first live streams. But I was in the last year in the awkward situation where I was basically living in two different houses at once. So there'd be sometimes when you ring me, say your daughter got sick or something, you could make a show. I was like, I was in the wrong house, so then I just end up cancelling. Maybe I should be a bit better about that. Now my studio is in the same house where I actually live.
Yeah.
Again.
But
stuff like that is like.
But
I'd like to be more consistent. I'd like, so that we try and get a live stream out every single week.
Yeah, and that's the nature of, again, us just doing this as a hobby on the side. If we had no jobs, we could do it every day of the week, guaranteed, because we just set time aside through the day to stream, record, edit, all that other stuff.
It's one of them things I think I told you about before. Although my house isn't that actually far away from my girlfriend's, it's a 10-minute drive. To get up on a Thursday evening, get dressed, get in my car, drive.
You naked most of the time?
Well, sometimes I'm in pajamas. Like, to drive to a different house to stream for an hour or two, and then to get back in my car to drive back. It was a bit of a pain in the ass. So I was glad once I got my new studio up and running. Yeah. So now I don't have to do that.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to get fully set up with all the LED lights.
It is set up.
We need more LED lights. But yeah, so nothing in particular. We will reference Hjorvar's question as well. We had another write-in from Hjorvar, basically asking about, love to see a prediction section in the January shows. What are people saying about State of Play's upcoming, Xbox Developer Direct's upcoming, the Switch 2 rumours, and I guess that whole question, Hjorvar, gets condensed into what will probably be the next 3 weeks worth of the podcast. Yeah, so fear not.
You're getting free. You're not getting a section. You're getting free episodes.
Exactly. So we did see that. But yeah, so other than that, that's all I've been playing. So we are back. It's 2025. I have actually started playing Cocoon, I should say, before we get into it. Purely because, like I said, I was wandering around thinking, what do I play? Do I read a book? Do I start a new TV series? Like, where am I really at the beginning of 2025? And I thought, did a quick Google of like decent PS5 games with like that aren't too long, and Cocoon was like up near the top along with a bunch of other ones. I actually started playing it last night via the Portal. It's just a little puzzle game if you've not seen it before, Richie. It's essentially you're like a little like moth or a firefly or something. It's made by the people who did Limbo and Inside, so you'll be familiar with the work. But instead of doing like another 2D kind of side-scroll puzzle game, they went all out and did like this really warped 3D game where essentially, you play this little bug character and it's a combination of puzzles using different light orbs and panels and moving objects to trigger new objects, and it's a quite hard one to describe, but you go through the orbs into like another world, so it's like almost like Inception. You go and like every time you get a color orb, you can go into another element, and I feel like it's going to have some kind of typical indie game story where it all loops back on itself at the end, and it's all referencing like rebirth and like life within life and stuff like that. But very interesting art style, very beautiful to look at. The puzzles are fairly straightforward. There are a couple of bits I've got stuck when you needed to bring certain coloured orbs into other certain coloured worlds, and when you kind of get a bit in a loop with yourself where you get lost in the puzzle itself. But aside from that, it's got really good reviews, really good Metacritic. I think it won Indie Game of the Year, maybe last year or the year before. It won loads of awards for it. And
I was going to say it was one of them that was, as an indie game, was very much on my radar. I did one where I couldn't tell you what the game is about, but I'm aware of it.
Yeah, it got loads of recognition, so I'm glad that I kind of just decided to jump into it as like a little teaser. I think I'm about 2.5 hours in, so I'm probably about the halfway mark now. So, and the platinum is quite straightforward as well. It's basically find like a hidden mystery person in each or object in each area, and then complete the story. So hopefully, it's just by the time next week comes around, I'll probably have my first platinum of 2025. But that's not what our audience is here for. It's just talking about what we're playing. Of course, do let us know in the comments or in our Discord server what you've been playing over Christmas. We do like to see what our audience is up to. Any recommendations, get them in there as well. But let's get into the news, and we can't do that until Richie introduces us to the very first
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette, aka the New Year's News.
The New Year's News. And of course, the news is always brought to you by our wonderful guild heroes, the fantastic folks who support us that extra little bit further, just like you can, from as little as 99p. You can get early access to this very show, exclusive stickers and badges next to your name in our live chats, and any other content we drop for you as well. But more importantly, it helps us support us, it helps us grow. We push past the 2k mark, which you've been seeing a nice bit of traction recently. So if you listen on podcast services, if you listen on YouTube, thank you very much for supporting us for our 7th year of content. 7th calendar year of content.
6th year, actually.
Is it 6? Damn it, I got that wrong. Maybe 7.
6, yeah.
2019, 20.
We've just had our 5th year anniversary, so it's anniversary plus 1.
5. I've got 7. 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23,
oh,
24,
yeah, of
25.
course. Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Yeah, we've made content in 7 years.
Calendar years, yeah. That's the stipulation. But, of course, let's get into the news, Richie. Story number 1, we have our PlayStation Plus games, claimable games, for the month of January. And they are as follows. Starting on January 7th, playable and downloadable and streamable for some parts. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League on PlayStation 5. Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered for PS4. And the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe on PS4 and PS5. So, Richie, we're kickstarting the year with Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League.
I thought 2025 was the year where we never had to talk about this game again. But PlayStation went, nope, you can have a dead game for free as part of your subscription, of course.
I mean, the season pass hasn't finished yet, right? They've got like one.
They're closing it down.
They've announced it's done. Yeah, that's the last one to get in. So I guess
they have said you can still play it offline, but the online component's getting shut down this month.
Is it?
I'm sure that's what I read.
Nah, surely they would give it the online. I think they said they're going to implement offline play, but I don't think the server's going to shut down this soon, right? It's not that bad.
I'm just reading from the Wikipedia page. Rocksteady will cease supporting the game in January 2025, though it will remain playable offline.
The servers can't be getting shut down this early, though, surely. Either way. Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, of course. We've lamented this game for so long now, even beforehand when it was kind of between Gotham Knights and Suicide Squad. We did get Gotham Knights on PlayStation Plus, I feel like half a year ago. So the cadence is there. It's one of them, I guess, as a free game, for all intents and purposes. It's probably really good. It's got AAA quality and polish. It's got great voice acting. It's a big IP. But as you said, it's like, is it worth jumping into? Back to my dilemma of what do I play in January? Now I've got this for free as of tomorrow. Doesn't really give me any urge to play it still.
No,
so
I've got no interest. Even though it's just, I'll add it to my library, but it'll never be touched.
Yeah.
I never thought it looked good. To be perfectly honest, when I was looking at this game, I thought it looked generic as hell, and they were relying on the Suicide Squad IP to carry it.
Yeah,
but the Suicide Squad IP is not strong, so it just looked like a disaster from the beginning.
Well, that's where you would hope the Justice League would help that out, but unfortunately, you don't get to play as the Justice League. No. Do you want to play as Batman, the Flash? You know, the people with the cool superhero powers, like the main protagonists in the DC legacy? No. Let's play as King Shark and Captain Boomerang.
What I don't get is they must have looked at Marvel's Avengers from Crystal Dynamics and went,
shit,
we'll do that. Because that, by all intents and purposes, was better than this. And it came out years before, and that didn't land well. So it makes you wonder why they made this game. It's kind of, I think WB kind of haven't got the pulse on gaming at the moment.
No.
It feels like they're well behind the trends. Yeah. But they're also not even keeping pace with the quality in that trend that they were chasing. That is already in the decline. Yeah. So I don't know what they're doing. Yeah. They nailed it with Hogwarts Legacy. but that seems like a surprise to them more than this.
Yeah, I think it was.
I bet you there's executives at WB who thought this game was going to do better than Hogwarts Legacy and was surprised when everyone loved Hogwarts Legacy and no one gave a damn about this.
Yeah, bit of a shock to the system. And we still wait on Wonder Woman as well to see what that's up to from WB. Monolith working on that after the last Shadow of War game.
We had a release, like just a teaser years ago and nothing else.
Yeah, it was just like a picture of Wonder Woman. Like, we don't even know if it's the same one from this Rocksteady universe, but I'm sure we'll see something this year about it. So there's your big PlayStation Plus game. For all we know, Rich, our audience could all jump on board and say this is what we want to see a stream on Thursday. Who knows?
I mean,
you'll have to
if that's what you want,
get your votes in.
I'll do it
down below. The second game you mentioned there was Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered. It's a bit of a odd one for me. This I jumped on board with Need for Speed with Need for Speed Underground, and then the best one, Need for Speed Underground 2. Played Most Wanted as well, which was one after that, and then I think this is where I started to tail off not long after Most Wanted. I think the one after I did get but didn't play as much of it, and I think that was the last one I actually bought. I think I dabbled in some other ones as they came out or came to certain free services, but I haven't actually purchased a Need for Speed game in quite a while. Hot Pursuit, anything for you?
Not really. I'm not really into my racing games. I might check it out one evening if I fancied it, but unlikely.
I mean, it got a remaster, so it was obviously well reviewed enough for that to get a polished version.
Yeah, it's the remaster we're getting, isn't it? So the original was PS3. So this is a PS4 remaster of a 2010 game. Mm-hmm. Remaster, not remake. But if the game holds up, the game holds up.
Yeah. Curious one.
But it's not drawing my attention, to be honest.
Yeah. And then probably in a way the best game of the lot is the Stanley Parable, which is the deluxe edition. This is one of those indie games that I know nothing really of. If you told me about it, I couldn't picture what the game looks like, but I've heard of it. It's revered so well. I think it's a puzzle game.
If I remember rightly, this is the game where the kind of narrator tells you what you need to be doing as you play through it. It's quite a unique experience. I've not played it, but again, it's one that I think I think you are right. This is the standout game in this, because by all reports, it is actually a really good game. I'm trying to find its reception. At the moment, it's on 4.5 out of 5 on Steam. It got 9 out of 10 IGN reviewed.
What's the synopsis of it? Because I feel like in my head, it's the same kind of comedy you get from Portal. With like a Stephen Merchant character telling you what to do or where to go. And I know you solve puzzles to kind of go about the business. It's like a walking simulator puzzle.
Yeah, so reading from the PlayStation blog, the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is an expanded reimagining of the critically acclaimed award-winning indie game, Stanley Parable from 2013. Everything that was in the original Stanley Parable is here, preserved just like it was in 2013. But it dramatically expands the world of the original game, blah, 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 blah. The labyrinth has just got bigger. And that write-up isn't actually very good. Reading from Steam, the Stanley Parable is the first-person exploration game. You will play as Stanley, and you will not play as Stanley. You will follow a story. You will not follow a story. You will have a choice. You will not have a choice. The game will end. The game will never end.
Yeah, I've got like Alan Wake vibes with like the loops where you go back in on yourself a couple of times, and it's like, am I the story now, or am I writing the story, or am I reading the story? And it's got a good vibe to it. It's almost got like a Remedy tint to it. But yeah, I'm getting that Portal 2/Remedy vibe. But it's done enough to get a deluxe, an ultra deluxe edition anyway, as the title suggests.
Yeah, I mean, this is one where it's just been almost universally praised as an indie game, or at least the original 2013 release did. And from what I can tell, the Ultra Deluxe version is similarly reviewed well. So I feel like this is one of them games, to properly get it, you need to play it.
Yeah, I feel so as well. Fun fact about the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is you might notice in the trailer that you play as like employee number 427, and they released it on April 27th, which was a nice little like nod to Ford. Obviously, American backwards, wrong calendar, but still, it's still there. Brilliant, and that's your PlayStation Plus games, and that is pretty much the only news story for the week, which brings us to the kind of big topic of the show, inspired by Hjorvar, and we were probably going to do this anyway, sorry, but PlayStation, let's
sorry for writing in,
but I mean, great minds think alike, right?
Yeah.
And let's start by looking at PlayStation's year ahead. They had a pretty strong 2024 without really having to do much. They celebrated the 30th anniversary. They got a couple of really good second-party deals out in terms of Rise of Ronin did really well, Stellar Blade did really well. They had Final Fantasy Rebirth, just off the top of my head, and that's not including...
Did Rise of Ronin do really well? It did okay.
It reviewed well. I don't know how well it sold, but in terms of like a second-party deal, it did better than things like Forspoken the year before. Like people were positively talking about it, and it had like a moment, it had like a month, I think, in like a quiet season in late spring, which it kind of took. But remember, I think it came back to back with Stellar Blade almost. It was like month to month beats of like, hey, there's something to play on PlayStation.
I feel like Rise of Ronin kind of came and went. Not necessarily a bad game, but also not a standout title.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, kind of, if it was made by it could have been made by Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Where like it's just like a solid 8 out of 10. Low 8 out of 10. Just there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. And it didn't do enough to get me in as a PlayStation fan, so it didn't look first party quality enough to convince me, I think.
I think there's just bigger stuff around it.
Yeah, most likely. And then obviously they rounded out the year, as I said, with the 30th anniversary celebrations and Lego Horizon Adventures, which was available on Nintendo Switch, and Astrobot, Game of the Year award winning, GamerGuildTV Game of the Year award winning Astrobot. So again, a quiet year on all fronts from the first party, but then all around actually a really solid year. From, if you think about, you can have a really good year without really doing much, putting much little effort in yourself. It seems like a win-win, because on the other side of the coin, you got Xbox trying their absolute hardest and seemingly still can't get that traction and the sales numbers for the hardware that they so desperately want. But did end the year strong in Indiana Jones, and we'll talk about that in the weeks to come. But looking at PlayStation, Richie, we're big PlayStation fans. We'll be playing our PlayStation 5 all throughout the year of 2025. But let's focus in on their first-party studios. And we've got a list up here on the dock. Do let us know in the comments below what your thoughts are on these studios. But I feel like we've been saying for almost, feels like 2-3 years now, what are PlayStation's first party up to, because they've been very, very quiet. And we actually do know a little bit more, of course. We know about Ghost of Yotei now. We know about Naughty Dog's Intergalactic. We don't know when they're going to come. We don't have a solid date. We've got a year for Ghost of Yotei is supposedly coming this year. But let's start at the top then with the ones we know. So Sucker Punch, famous for Infamous and Sly Raccoon back in the day. Ghost of Tsushima, both of our favourite games of probably all time, easily. Fantastic title, gorgeous and fun.
I've platinumed it twice.
Same. It's
the only game I can say that about.
It's that damn good. And Ghost of Yotei, so going with a different name, different location, different protagonist. That's after Grand Theft Auto. I think that is my probably personal most hyped game for 2025.
Well, I'm not hyped for Grand Theft Auto, so that is my most.
Yeah. I think it is I think the world will be hyped for GTA, but I think me personally, I'll get much more satisfaction out of Ghost of Yotei.
100%, the world is the most anticipated game of 2025 is Grand Theft Auto
of all time. Some might say.
Arguably it is the most anticipated game of all time.
So we've seen a trailer for Ghost of Yotei. We know what it's going to be about, most likely, because it's going to be similar gameplay with like typical sequel games. It's going to like kind of bump it up a little bit. Do you think it's going to hit 2025, or are we just thinking? Are we thinking or hoping? You know what I mean? I think with game development, like Sucker Punch have a decent record. The last one, Ghost of Tsushima, came out in 2020, so that it'll be about 5 years since when it gets around. You thinking it's on track?
Yeah, I think so, and I think PlayStation kind of needed to be. The last 2 years, I think, been marred by PlayStation making the decision to go push harder into games as a service, then reversing that decision.
Yeah.
I feel like Ghost of Yotei was one of the few major studios that probably wasn't impacted too much, despite Ghost of Tsushima Legends being actually a genuinely awesome, fun game.
I was just going to say.
So you could forgive them of like going like, no, go hard on that. because they could have absolutely made a good games as a service game there.
Yeah.
Because that DLC felt like them testing the waters.
Isn't it that sad irony where Ghost of Tsushima Legends is, like you said, it's fun. It's some of the best multiplayer
really
I've
good
played.
fun.
It's so fun, and it was just a freebie
PvE
that was added on to at the end of the last game as like a free throw-in, and then. I mean, we'll talk about them soon, but Naughty Dog with Last of Us Factions, like again, that was another great multiplayer game, and yet Sony pumped 400 million into Concord, but knocked on the head Factions, and then seemingly we don't know anything about Legends yet. I think there's going to be something Legends in the pipeline for this team, because as you said, so good. Like I remember doing the co-op with you. We did a little bit on stream, and it's just like once you get hang of the moves, that kind of like ethereal, mysterious world that this, because it's not grounded. The multiplayer is very much just like taking mythology and ghosts and crazy stories from folklore, and you play them, and it's great fun.
They took Ghost of Tsushima, which is a single player game where it doesn't really have classes, they have different stances, and they went, right, how do we turn this into a class based co-op game, and then absolutely nailed it. But anyway, Ghost of Yotei, I think it will be 2025, late 2025.
Yeah, the last one came out in the summer.
I feel like they need something big this year because the PS5 is quite sparse and first party absolute bangers compared to the PS4. And we're about 5 years in now.
Like over halfway through a traditional cycle. Yeah.
So they need to start getting these big hitters on shelves and in people's homes, and so I think they announced Ghost of Yotei with every confidence of hitting that date.
Unless Rockstar put theirs out. So that's the elephant in the room for this year, isn't it? Is you don't want to get in the way of GTA.
I don't think Sony need to care.
Oh, I do.
Because
they'll have deals with Rockstar as well. That'll prevent them from marketing and stuff like that. You don't want to, mate. Like, no matter how good Ghost of Yotei is, GTA is going to steamroll any hope of sales that you have. Because I just think,
I don't know if I agree. I think what will probably happen is anyone who's interested in Ghost of Yotei will buy Ghost of Yotei, play through it, then move over to Grand Theft Auto. I think Grand Theft Auto has the legs, so people will be looking at it and going, you might want to be in the zeitgeist, getting there day and date. But then it doesn't really matter when that game comes out because you're probably not going to play Ghost of Yotei because you're going to be stuck in Grand Theft Auto forever. So I think there is definitely an overlap in the audience. I don't know if it's as big as we think it is. I think there's a lot of people who want to play both games, but the people who want to play both games day and date, I think that's quite a relatively small subsection.
Yeah, I just wonder why would you? Like, why risk it? Yeah. Like, if it's an unknown quantity, why risk it? If Grand Theft Auto we're going in middle of June, like, why not just give yourself, like, another month or two polish and just put it out there in the air?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you haven't announced a date and Rockstar go, he's our date, but I wouldn't move to accommodate it. I think you should have a bit more confidence in your game. And the thing is, as anticipated as Grand Theft Auto 6 is, it could actually be terrible. It's not going to be. I do not believe that.
Yeah, no, I think
it's likely.
It's too much money.
But people could get their hands on and go, not feeling this, and go back to Grand Theft Auto 5.
They could. So, Ghost of Yotei then, pretty much guaranteed. Yeah. I think back end of the year seems like a safe bet for it. Unless we get a surprise PlayStation State of Play or something that goes, it's out next month, but very, very doubtful. Do you think Sucker Punch have anything else in the pipeline? Do we have another Infamous there? Do they have a second? Like, most of the other studios have like grew to a size where they're able to spin off. Naughty Dog with it, Uncharted 3, The Last of Us. Guerrilla did it with Killzone and then into Horizon. Do we think Sucker Punch has got the chops to have grown to a point where they could actually maybe have a small incubation unit working on something that isn't Ghost of Tsushima? Like, I'd hate to think they're just leaving Infamous behind because it is a great fun series and I'd love to see another one. But did the last one, Second Son, sell enough?
I don't know. I feel like there's something to be said for staying small and focused, keeping the team, trying to keep the team roughly the same size, and going, we're going to work on the next Ghost game. We're not going to split the team into multiple different teams working on a million different games. I mean, it can work with some like Insomniac, so it can be done. But sometimes I think a studio can get too big for its own good.
Yeah,
and you lose that bit of intimacy in the creative process.
Yeah,
so I kind of hope if they do, it's like a small big title situation, or this. Well, Ghost of Yotei is this big thing they currently work on. The next game is maybe very early pre-production, or like a smaller experience.
Yeah, I personally would like to see them, similar to Insomniac actually, would like to see a new Sly Cooper game, because it's been a while.
That could be the slightly smaller experience.
And when I think of Insomniac, they've got out the massive Spider-Man game, but then they also managed to squeeze out a Ratchet and Clank game. That was like a 12-hour experience with a cartoon aesthetic, so it doesn't push the boundaries of reality.
It's not as narratively heavy.
Exactly, yeah. Just a couple of simple levels, A to Z. Find some,
a lot of work,
do some stealth.
A lot of polish goes into it, but that's what I mean by a smaller, in quotations, like kind of experience where it's not going to be an 80-hour open world experience. It's going to be a 15-hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
15 to 20-hour like puzzle platformer.
Yeah. So that's Sucker Punch. And what we could have our audience do, if you want to participate, is list the studios down in the comments and just give us your best predictions and anticipations of what you'd like to see. Moving on to the next one we do know about, Richie, Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet, which is the recently announced, we got at the Game Awards, the new Naughty Dog game. We don't have a date for this one. It was just the big grand reveal trailer. Obviously, lots of quote-unquote controversy around this. We covered it on the 2 weeks ago on the podcast in terms of the woke agenda and stuff, which we're not going to get into here. We're purely going to talk about gameplay. We've nipped that in the bud nice and early. This game's one where I think, similar to a lot of people, like, I'm surprised Naughty Dog went sci-fi, but at the same time, I'm sure I have so much faith in Naughty Dog. They've not made a bad game ever in their history, and I very much doubt they're going to start now. But do you think this, 2026? Again, similar boat to Ghost of Tsushima. The Last of Us Part 2 came out 2020, not long after Ghost of Tsushima, and they've had 5 years. We've talked just recently about Last of Us Factions multiplayer live service being cancelled. So now you'd imagine everyone at Naughty Dog is now full on production on this game.
Yeah, I think Factions has been something that's hung over Naughty Dog probably for a bit longer than they probably would have wanted. This game might have been 2025 if it wasn't for Factions.
Yeah.
Or at least an attempt. I think it's probably going to be quiet this year for it. I think we're looking, maybe this might be their big game for 2026.
Think maybe next,
or even 2027.
7 years between games is
yeah, but it's 7 years between games, but they've failed to make a game in between.
Yeah,
they've remade Last of Us,
everything.
The remade Last of Us Part 1, then the remastered Part 2 as well. And so they've had stuff coming out to fill the gap, but it does feel like, you know, when I say like this big little game situation for the studios, this is where they could do with a Lost Legacy or something.
Yeah.
Something this year that is going to be a smaller experience. If Heretic Prophet's going to be a 2027 game, just to keep something ticking over a bit.
Yeah, I mean, what was the Last of Us roguelike edition they added last January with the Part 2 round? So they did add another gameplay mode to it, if you recall. But yeah, you're right, it's not a story-driven, like what Naughty Dog are known for. I can't wait for this. I do think they'll let Ghost have maybe this year, and then next year will be the big one. I could see this being June 2026. And hopefully maybe at next year's, or this year's now, Game Awards, we'll probably see the first actual gameplay and another trailer.
I think my prediction is it's quiet till late in the year. Once Ghost of Yotei comes out, then that's when I think you start seeing gameplay or them talking more about it.
Are we now then in a world where Naughty Dog get one game out per generation?
Possibly. I hope not. I think they should be aiming for 2 or 3. But again, I think Factions was the problem.
Yeah,
because they spent years working on a game and scrapped it. Yeah. So the roguelike addition to Last of Us Part 2 might have been reused assets from Factions and ideas.
Yeah. Shame.
Well, just you know what, we're doing this remaster anyway. Let's throw a couple extra bonus IDs because we've already got the content there.
Yeah, such a shame.
Well,
such a shame. Factions would have worked brilliantly. But yeah, so Heretic, we don't really know anything more about other than what the trailer's shown us, getting that little snippet of what seemingly might be gameplay. But yeah, I mean, I trust Naughty Dog, so I've no problem. It is a shame we don't have anything Uncharted from them, because again, Uncharted's one of them franchises where I think the gameplay is so fun that I'd just like to see more of that. I think Uncharted is definitely the series this year that I'm hoping to get back to, just to enjoy them all again.
But, I did that last year, it was awesome.
Yeah, I think that is my plan. It's probably going to be my big one between now and probably Assassin's Creed, so probably this month actually. And I do have The Last of Us Part 2 to play ahead of Clickercast Season 2 starting, because again, aside from having the game, Naughty Dog I guess have had a Emmy Award winning TV show, technically, if we want to go off that. But Intergalactic will wait till 2027. And while we wait for that one, Richie, let's move on to our next studio, which is Guerrilla Games. We've spoke at the beginning of the show, Lego Horizon Adventures. Wasn't done by Guerrilla, but obviously it was done in tandem with Guerrilla. Do we think Guerrilla, I guess, are probably one of the other big studios as part of Sony's first party? I think a Killzone reboot or remaster is probably off the table. Do we just suspect Guerrilla are now pretty much into full pre-production on Horizon 3?
Possibly. Didn't they announce talk about Horizon MMO and things as well?
That's not official yet. I think this is the stuff that just came from leaks. Yeah, there's a MMORPG, but that's not been done by them. It's been done by a Korean studio. True, if I recall.
They'll have the fingers in that part.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we get an announcement for Horizon 3 this year. I don't think we'll see a game from Guerrilla this year. Unless it is like a Killzone reboot or remaster, which is probably a good idea to test the waters on the franchise.
Well,
because they already have with what do you call Helldivers?
Yeah, Helldivers, and they were in Astrobot, the Helghast as well.
Yeah.
So they've had, I guess, like frontline relevance, if that's the best way to describe it, in recent months. And yeah, for all we know, the Helldivers stuff could like catapult the IP back into like conversation again. And again, the whole point of this episode is looking at PlayStation's catalog and portfolio. They don't have a first-person shooter.
True.
And they own one. They just don't use them.
I kind of feel PlayStation look at Guerrilla and go, "You're the Horizon guys now, though. It's such a lucrative IP for them.
Yeah.
Do Horizon stuff with Horizon. Even if they want to do Killzone or something, it's like maybe they could expand to have a second like studio working on Killzone, because that'd be a cool thing for them to do. Go, yeah, we're making Horizon 3, and we're also going to. I think they need to reboot the Killzone franchise.
Yeah,
because I think they should give it the God of War treatment, where they take the IP, not necessarily write off what came before, but reimagine what that IP should be in 2025.
Yeah, they could easily do that. Like the concept really is like humanity leaves Earth and goes to other planets, and and one of them planets is Helghan, which has its own, like, basically humans get there and they decide that, like, over like the hundreds and hundreds of years, like similar to like America, like Helghan and the Helghast, the people who live there, they have their independence, but then because of the way the war goes, is the planet basically gets fumigated to all shit, so no one can really survive on it. So that's why they all wear these cool gas masks with like red eyes, the Helghan people. And then Killzone Shadowfall, which was the last entry we got, was the Helghast. Basically, the war had gone that bad, but humanity, Earth had won. Spoilers for like a 12-year-old game. Helghast was that fucked up that basically the humans went, you know what? It's only fair that we give them asylum on our planet because we fucked up theirs so much in the war. So then Killzone Shadowfall basically focuses on like rebel groups of Helghast on Earth. And it's kind of like this interesting political dynamic between, actually, yeah, you're at war, but then you mess up the planet so bad through, I guess, war crimes by like using gas and stuff like that and nukes, that you kind of owe it to them to give them like safe haven in your own place. And you can imagine the politics that kick off over that. So there is 100% a story to be wrote in. They're essentially space nasties, the Helghast as well. So you've also got like some really cool elements, some really cool stories. But as you said, like a first party shooter, like you can go back and play any Killzone game and you'll have a great time with it.
Yeah.
And for what Sony want, the multiplayer was great as well. It was just classic multiplayer shooter, capture the flag.
Now, that's something I'd avoid. I think if you're going to do a first-person shooter now, you need to be something distinct. If you just copy and pasting what Call of Duty have done for decades now, I feel like you're just going to go. It might fall flat. You need to find a way to make it unique. Come up with new multiplayer modes that make sense for Killzone that don't make sense for other stuff. Like be a bit more creative. Yeah,
give me some PvE.
Fine. Make it its own unique thing. That's why I think Rainbow Six Siege does so well, and why Ubisoft haven't managed to recapture that is it's its own unique thing.
Yeah.
No other game plays like Rainbow Six Siege. Anytime they try to step away and make something that plays like Call of Duty, it fails. Plays like Apex Legends, it fails.
Yeah.
So I think you need to be careful. I think the first-person shooter genre is so dominated by Call of Duty. You need to find a way, if you're going to do Killzone, to make it unique in every aspect of it, and gameplay has to be part of that. You can't just put a Killzone skin and have it play exactly like Call of Duty.
Yeah, and
that's why Doom does well, actually, because Doom is still quite unique in the way it plays.
Yeah, agreed.
So it's finding what makes Killzone great modern days that makes it stand out in a crowded genre.
Let's make Killzone great again.
Yeah.
But I'm totally with you where I think Horizon is their bread and butter for Guerrilla now. You'd imagine wrapping up on Horizon 3 like in the next 5 or so years is they'll probably move on to a new IP after that, after Horizon wraps up. If the games as a service title goes well, I think a world full of robot dinosaurs and just infinite ways to kill them and hunt them down, and in a Monster Hunter style world, I think that's why the MMO's there. And I think the world to live in will be great. But I think Guerrilla, they probably have a small pre-production team looking at what's ironically beyond the horizon.
Yeah, well, it was 5 years between Zero Dawn and Forbidden West. So I'm actually, if we're saying 5 years before Horizon 3, that's 2027. I think it might be 2026 though, just because they probably didn't start working on Forbidden West until late development or even after Zero Dawn came out.
Yeah.
Where this time, going into Forbidden West, they already knew what they had with the IP. A lot of the groundwork of that world is established.
Yeah.
And they'll probably writing the next narrative of what Aloy goes on to do might have started as soon as Forbidden West finished.
Yeah.
I think you streamline that production a bit.
Yeah.
By having the IP be a bit more established.
Yeah. And we did have Burning Shores, and they obviously have had Lego Horizon Adventures, and they had Lego Call of the Mountain VR. So they've probably done a lot of consultancy, and the devs have probably been helping out with the aesthetics of the world and script and kind of fact checking the lore and stuff as well.
So, I think we could hear about Horizon this year to come out next year.
I think
probably in terms of big titles, I think it's going to be Ghost of Yotei, Horizon 3, then Heretic. Prophet.
Yeah. I think this is why PlayStation really just need a showcase, don't they? Because they seem to have so much in the tank, and we're not even halfway through this list, and yet it's they have so many guaranteed bangers almost just lined up ready to go, but they just seemingly don't tell us about them. So it's right, let's go. Moving on to Housemarque, the next studio, of course, recently acquired by PlayStation upon the release of their last entry, which was Returnal, which was the kind of 3D roguelike game that totally pivoted away from what Housemarque did. Remember, they did Resogun and Pixel Stardust HD, which were all extensively arcade shooters. And I remember at the time Housemarque put out an actual statement saying, we're no longer going to make this type of game because they're not profitable. And then they went into the shadows, and then they came back, and then upon the announcement of Returnal, it did really, really well. It's PlayStation exclusive. And then PlayStation acquired the studio. So it kind of rode the wave of the roguelike wave, I would say, Richie, where there was a moment in time about probably 2 to 3 years ago where every roguelike was just praised to the high heavens of oh, it's so good. This gameplay loop of die, start again, go into a self-reproducing world is great. And Returnal did well. So what are you expecting from Housemarque? I don't think they're going to go back to arcade shooters, but do you think Returnal is meriting a sequel, having not played it? Because I don't think either of us have.
Yeah, actually, I do. I think it was received very, very well. People do like the roguelike genre. It was a unique twist on it. So Returnal, I think, is I think that's probably it for them. We can't. It's hard to speculate on a new IP.
Yeah.
So we're putting the Doc Returnal 2 on new IP. It's like, well, the new IP could be literally anything. Like we've just been talking about Guerrilla. They went from Killzone to Horizon, very different styles of games.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Housemarque went from arcade shooters to Returnal, very different styles of games. So, are they going to reinvent themselves again? I feel like we've got a Returnal 2 or something similar before they maybe move on.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet. I think the Returnal was so big for them in terms of just sales and like how well it was reviewed that like why would you want to make from that? Yeah,
they reimagined what they are and succeeded.
Yeah,
so I think they're on the right track. So
yeah, they almost did an Arrowhead, like with Helldivers, going from like the original and like going third person, and basically pushing their boundaries to something that the studio had never done before. But at the same time, in PlayStation's wheelhouse, yes, it's third person. It's very different though to a traditional Sony first party. It actually has something different about it, which is I think underappreciated.
Something new. It adds that diversity to the library. While it is a third person shooter, which Sony have loads of, it's a roguelike, which Sony don't have a lot of, and have been dabbled with God of War, given
Valhalla,
and
then Last of Us,
and that is probably on the back of Returnal.
Yeah, so the devs,
people like this genre. Let's test it out in other places.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
So I think it's Returnal 2.
Yeah, I agree with that. Moving on then from Housemarque to Bend Studio, Sony Bend. So we know Sony Bend's last entry was Days Gone on PS4, and before that it was Uncharted Golden Abyss. I think both games are terrific. I think Golden Abyss is not the worst Uncharted game, which is a long list, but I think it's better than the original Uncharted. So Naughty Dog's original entry in the series, I think it's better than that, even though it runs on the Vita. Days Gone, I thought was a huge step up. They had the problem of, I think it took them 7 or 8 years. So they almost had that like rock steady problem where it's like you were on the pot for so long. It's kind of like, right, time to shit or get off it. And Days Gone came out and it got loads of comparisons with The Last of Us, unnecessarily so. It was open world, zombies or Twitches, I think they were called, but they had the same horde mode that you get from like World War Z. Had a really interesting story, really well acted, and for all intents and purposes, it is a PlayStation first-party game. It had some slick UI, and I thoroughly enjoyed Days Gone. And then, seemingly enough, so did the public. Because if you remember, Sony very quickly went, we're not doing a sequel. They pitched one, we're not doing it. But then if you look online, this game's got nothing but love.
It's aged well.
What tripped it up was, if you recall, upon launch, the review codes that got sent out, there was a huge day one patch that fixed a lot of issues, but all the reviews, the way the review embargo window was, is all the reviews got locked in prior to the patch. So basically all these reviews came out at like 6, maybe 7, and then everyone who got the game at launch, all the public, the consumers, myself, got it and were like, There's no bugs, there's no glitches, not as many anywhere, and it was great.
It does. It's one of them games that makes you question how should we do like scored reviews nowadays with games coming out with big day one patches.
Yeah,
what the reviewers played and what you as a consumer play, and not the same product. So they're not really comparable, but review scores do have a massive impact on the sales of games.
Yeah.
So where do you do that? I know a lot of companies now start doing live reviews, so they'll update the reviews. But the problem with that is, once you hear that number, are you going back and reading the review every time they update it because of a patch? I don't know. It's a difficult one. I don't know where they're going next. And actually, I do know where they're going next. They go Bubsy. Go back to Bubsy. 1996 Bubsy 3D. That was Bend.
No,
yeah, I know it was. Bend, but it's what became Bend.
The devs, yeah. And the biggest thing that I guess solidifies Days Gone as like a cult following is, if you remember, when it came out on PC, it sold huge numbers. Looking at the stats here, their biggest seller is Horizon Zero Dawn, 3.3 million. The next one is God of War, 2018 reboot, 2.5 million. Days Gone, 1.7, which puts it ahead of Spider-Man at 1.3, far ahead of Uncharted, the Legacy of Thieves collection, far ahead of Miles Morales, and hugely far ahead of Sackboy: A Big Adventure, of course. And The Last of Us and them aren't on here because I think this is of like back end of 2022, so they're a bit outdated, sorry. But yeah, nearly 2
of
million.
That initial PC launch.
Yeah, but I reckon that it's passed since 2022. It's definitely past the 2 million units sold on PC alone. So the game does well in all of the places, apparently, except for Studio's corporate office. And Bend have been working on something new for so long. And the rumour is a Siphon Filter reboot. But when we're talking about Killzone and stuff, I don't think there's that as much love for Siphon Filter as I guess the games industry think there is. Like, do you have any real... Like, I know I don't think played it. I think I played
I never played it. I do remember hearing about it, though. It's one of them games, I think, when we were kids. Probably Rob played it.
I think PlayStation's answer like Splinter Cell is from what... Splinter Cell meets Metal Gear Solid would be the best way to describe it, I hope.
Not a bad thing to have in your locker, PlayStation. I don't think they can go back to Days Gone. It's too toxic.
Yeah.
The former head of the studio with the launch of Astrobot was
a dick.
That's unfortunately is one that is salted earth. You probably need to move on from that a bit. Mm-hmm. I think a Siphon Filter reboot in the reimagining, probably not full of reimagining of what a Siphon Filter game is, because third person stealth shooters, not that many of them.
No.
The biggies you think of are like Splinter Cell, are like Metal Gear Solid. But, Metal Gear Solid Delta didn't come out last year. Yeah. And there's no word on Metal Gear Solid 6, and there's a whole Kojima situation. Mm-hmm. Splinter Cell, Ubisoft occasionally do a little tease that they remember Splinter Cell, then do nothing with it. Yeah. I think there's a gap in that market that Bend have the chops to fill, and they have an IP which could fill it. I don't think Siphon Filter has the same level of love that something like a Splinter Cell or Metal Gear Solid does, but it is remembered.
Yeah, I don't think similar to my Alan Wake theory is that I don't think the name Siphon Filter means anything. It's just one of them things. Like Alan Wake, Siphon. What does Siphon Filter like? I guess you could argue Splinter Cell doesn't really do that. Metal Gear Solid is just a random bunch of words, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah. The name Siphon Filter just doesn't sit with me. Again, I'd have to defer to our audience to let us know if there's like, oh no, it's huge.
I feel it's a cult classic. Yeah, and I feel it's one that could like take a step up and become. I don't know. I feel like that's in the category of a modern Siphon Filter game. Mm-hmm. Could be absolutely amazing. Yeah, they're. It's interesting. Stealth action shooter is. I think we do have a bit of a lack of them. Yeah,
I think with Ben, the risk I guess is if the next game isn't great, that could spell the end for them, which seems like an insane thing to say. Talking about how the numbers of Days Gone actually sold really well. And in hindsight, it reviewed really well with the actual consumers, not the reviewers. Personally, I think this is the studio you give Uncharted to again. They literally have a track record with the IP. Naughty Dog seemingly don't want to do it. They've literally made a game that was reviewed great.
And your first job is to get Golden Abyss running on the PS5. They could remaster Golden Abyss, get it on there, then do the next Uncharted.
I mean, that's a great first step, right?
But with Naughty Dog's input.
Yeah, and work with Bluepoint, who remastered the original trilogy for PS4. Then you've and all of these are under the same umbrella as Sony, so I can't imagine that they don't have this conversation. Like, does Neil Druckmann not go to Herman Hulse and say, like, we can't do anything with Uncharted because we're so focused on Intergalactic right now and The Last of Us Part 3. Like, yeah. I want to, but I can't. And he goes, right, well, who have we got in our wheelhouse? We've got Bluepoint, who worked on all 3 Uncharted games, and we've got Ben, who literally made a brand new standalone Uncharted game. What are they up to right now? Well, one's last game was shit and didn't do good, apparently, and the other studio are just working on remasters, but we'll give them a promotion to working on their own game. What could that be? It's such an interesting world.
I don't believe that Neil Druckmann doesn't have notepads with outlines of plots for potential Uncharted games written down, because he's a writer. And at the end of the day, he is fundamentally a writer.
Yeah.
So this is what he does. He will be sat there. Sometimes he'd be sat there in a coffee shop, probably with his wife or his kids or whoever. I don't know his family situation. And an idea will come. He'll pull out a note section on his phone. He'll write it down, and he'll probably get home and draft it out. Because that's kind of what writers do.
Yeah, scribble.
So I can't see him not having a few potential plot outlines for what the next Uncharted game could be.
Yeah, same. I agree.
So he could flesh out his ideas and give it to another studio, a Naughty Dog consult on it. Yeah. So you get the same quality writing coming from Naughty Dog, but then another studio's making the game.
Yeah. And
Ben could be it.
And Neil's almost got to that point now where he's almost turning into a Kojima, where I don't think he needs direct involvement in the games. He's almost like, because he's doing the TV show as well, he can kind of just almost like consult. He's almost like a consultant leader of like, he trusts his teams and the projects.
The IP's strong enough that everyone working on it has a good understanding what the IP is and what the characters are. This is the thing with good characters. If your character's incredibly well written, it's more about uncovering what their journey is going to be rather than scripting it.
Yeah.
So like you could put Sully in a situation and you kind of know what he would do in that situation.
Yeah, because you've seen him in 4 games. Yeah, I agree. Well, moving on from Ben's studio, Team Asobi, we've got probably some quick fire ones here. Team Asobi, of course, recently formed from the remnants of like Studio Japan and some other studios, gave us the wonderful, delightful Astrobot over the Christmas period. I guess autumn into Christmas period. It's got to be a sequel to Astrobot, right, Richie? Like, there's no way the studio is now moving on to a new IP after getting Game of the Year.
No, it's Team Asobi, the Astrobot guys.
Yeah,
I don't think it's a sequel yet. I think it's expansion then sequel.
I think
or expansions. It could be a platform. It could be a platform to last the rest of the life of PS5.
Yeah, I mean between
like how you only get one Mario, usually one mainline Mario game. You could get Astrobot as is, and the way they designed that, you can add new worlds. Yeah. They've already did it with the Christmas one.
Yeah, and the speedruns.
They've already shown, and the speedruns. They could bring in speedruns to the rest of the worlds.
Yeah,
the rest of the levels that already exist. You could riff on other like concept they've already done, like take a random level out of Astrobot, move a few assets together, and make another speedrun.
Mm-hmm.
So you could do more stuff like that. You could put new theme stuff. You could bring out an Easter theme stuff. I think they've got a playground, and they've already created the roadmap forward by doing the Christmas level and the speedruns.
Yeah,
I want to see whatever crazy crap they can do with this game.
Yeah, and we saw the interviews leading up to the launch of Astrobot, and the production pipeline that Team Asobi's got for making a level is they can essentially storyboard a level using in-game assets, run through the level themselves on like a draft version, and almost get like the core framework of a new level made within like a week, I think the developers were saying. So you almost wonder like the turnaround for the speedruns and then the turnaround for the Christmas content. You do think like, well, actually, if Sony has the incentive, like what IP can we get our hands on? What other worlds or biomes could we maybe explore? And I think you're completely right. Like Astrobot, because they give it just the name Astrobot, it's not tied to like a numbered entry or anything like that. It could just be the game is the platform. And as you said, whack a couple new planets on, maybe do like a daft like Chinese New Year level, then give us a Valentine's Day level, and then we're back to summer and you can have like barbecue season levels on the beach and stuff again, and all them assets exist already good to go. I did, yeah.
So spoilers for anyone who hasn't played the Christmas DLC, but Spider-Man didn't make it to the main game.
Yeah.
He made it to the DLC. Like
amongst other fantastic IP.
We know what Sony Santa Monica. We know what Insomniac are working on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is the thing with Team Asobi and Astrobot. They can use it as a platform and they can cross over. You could see a Ghost of Yotei crossover this year.
Yeah.
You could see an Intergalactic crossover. You could see more Horizon crossover stuff. They can just do what they want, and they've made it so unashamedly PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Go nuts.
Yeah, Astrobot was arguably the biggest celebration of Sony's 30 years than the actual 30th anniversary celebration was.
Yeah.
And I, for one, would quite happily just return to the game every other couple of months. I did the
Stick
speed
a VR
runs.
mode in, why not?
May have
You've already shown that it works in VR.
Yeah, may have beat all your speed runs, by the way, Richie. Sorry.
Every single one of them.
I think so, yeah.
Nice.
But
first time, or did you have to go back and redo?
I think one or two I had to redo again. I think the one with the monkey climbing.
Oh, so hard.
Yeah, that was the one where I was like, do I even have the patience to try and beat people's scores?
I did that on the Portal.
Wow, that's impressive. But yeah, and I had to beat my brother's scores for a few of them as well. So just so I could message him and be like, haha, unlucky.
I mean, you own the game, I don't. So
exactly, yeah, exactly. Next up, we've got Polyphony, also called Polyphony if you're a younger version of Chris. That's what I used to call it. The Gran Turismo studio, I guess, Richie, without really having to think too hard about it. There's another Gran Turismo?
Yeah, I think this is an easy one. 7 was 2022. Probably, again, it feels like maybe 2026.
Yeah, of course, we got the My First Gran Turismo, if you remember, that stealth drop during the celebration. So there was a new entry technically just a couple of weeks back. But I guess Gran Turismo's just always one of them that you don't want this studio to really do anything else, do you? This is what they do.
I said maybe 2026, but I think I want to take that back. I think they might just keep 7 going. I don't know how much. I'm not really in. It's not really on my radar much. Have they been supporting it? Because there was 9 years between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
It feels like if they're doing 8, it might be another cross-generation game like 7 was.
Yeah, like get a port out for PS6.
Yeah, so dual release on 5 and 6. Mm-hmm. Because that's what 7 was. So it might be... Gran Turismo could be one game a generation.
I think it is now, especially as you said, with the licensing and everything they have to do for the vehicles. It's like, why bother trying to do it several times? And we've discussed in our Discord about Forza's problems and the crew's problems with like vehicle licensing. So I guess if you can lock it down for longer with less effort, it's better from a contractual standpoint. But I mean, Gran Turismo's looked absolutely beautiful and stunning for probably since the PS3 generation now.
Yeah, it's hard to think with the PS5 what they would do to make 8 significantly better than 7 to make you want to switch from 7 to 8. It feels like that's a PS6 jump you want to make, so just keep supporting 7.
Yeah.
For the time being, I don't really know what else you would do. But there again, I'm not a racing game fan. If you are, let us know in the comments or on the Discord. Why should Polyphony, within the next couple of years, release Gran Turismo 8?
Absolutely. And thanks for calling it Polyphony. Not
Polyphony.
Not Polyphony. Right, next up, we've got Firesprite Studios. These Firesprite, I guess, are the only real outlier because they're the only real VR team that Sony have, even though they have PlayStation VR 2. Which, let's face it, Richie, now the Black Friday sales are out of the way and Christmas is out of the way. Did anyone get one of these under the tree this Christmas? Or is this... Did more people get Portals for Christmas than PSVR 2? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think probably Portals won out.
I bet Call the Mountain's fantastic as well, and I'll probably never play it, which irritates me because I love the Horizon franchise.
It looks so good, but it's like it's not worth the outlay.
And that's the problem.
Not worth the outlay for another effectively the same price of your console again to play about 5 games.
The only way I'd experience this is if they somehow did like a PSVR arcade machine. So like you and me could go down to our local arcades, have a pint or two, and then they're like, oh look, they've got Horizon the game in like a VR booth.
Yeah. If they went, it's 250 quid. And you get the entire library of compatible VR games as part of the package. That's enticing. I think VR, unfortunately, it's such a niche. It's a good niche and a cool niche. But as I've always said with VR 2, the games need to be better than non-VR games to make it worth the outlay of the extra peripherals. And I don't think they're there yet.
There's just experiences still.
They're cool, so they can be cool in their own right and can be proper games, but but there's also plenty of other games that I just don't have time to play, so I don't see the need. I don't feel the call of the mountain, so to speak.
I love it. But it's just like watching the trailer and thinking, like, could you imagine the moment you get to like go underneath a tall neck in VR and look up as it walks past, like a proper Jurassic Park? Yeah,
climb it.
Yeah,
like
it's such a
that'd
shame.
be awesome. But all that's been said, I'd love to see PSVR 2 succeed.
Yeah,
I just don't think there's the appetite really there for it.
No.
So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what Firesprite does. To be honest, I'm a bit surprised I haven't been shut down.
Yeah,
I think if shutting them down looks like Sony have abandoned VR.
I mean, we've just gone through 7 exclusive Festive Studios, and we've not mentioned VR for any of them. That alone suggests that it's just going to be indie games coming out. I know they are brokering a deal with Apple and their headset, and we know we've got the PC adapter as well, so they're making efforts to make the hardware more open platform. But I think you're right. I think Firesprite's days as a VR exclusive studio are potentially numbered. There was rumours about a Twisted Metal live service game they were purchased to work on, but Firesprite, similar to Firewalk, which we know got closed down after the epic failure of Concord, they're kind of just like treading on thin ice, I think.
It depends. Sony could reimagine them to be a support studio.
I think that's the most likely outcome. And we actually wish that of Firewalk, not Firesprite.
Yeah.
Firewalk, thinking like Concord did astronomically bad, but the game itself reviewed well and it looked great. So it's like you've got talent out the wazoo there. Like, why not just sprinkle them elsewhere within your first party? So who knows?
Especially with them having experience working with the Horizon IP. They could become a support studio for Guerrilla. So if Guerrilla have multiple projects, say they are working on an Horizon MMO and Horizon 3, and potentially Killzone, you got Firesprite who can like share some of the burden. Maybe Firesprite takes on the Horizon MMO stuff.
Yeah.
And it just, it works within the family rather than focus on its own game. Or they might just be working on the next, maybe a God of War VR. Yeah. That could be cool, actually.
Could. The axe,
throwing the axe on the back, and then like the chains.
Yeah, but again, I think VR has gone. I wonder at what point my prediction of the Portals outselling the VR2 comes true. Like, will they ever share them numbers, or do we have to just guesstimate? Because you have one, I have one now. In fact, I bought 2 now. 2 years ago. No, this past November this past November was its first year anniversary. So it's like a year and a couple of months.
So I reckon the Portal outsold PSVR 2 in December 2023.
just immediately. Harsh.
No, that's harsh, but I think it's probably within half a year. Yeah. Within 6 months.
Yeah. Speaking of outselling things, Media Molecule up next. Their last entry, of course, was the long in gestation Dreams, which was shown off at the PlayStation 4 tease. And then it took that damn long. We finally got it on PS5. It says the cat. But
yeah,
I don't know. Media Molecule for me are one that I just think they're almost like vaporware at this point, because Dreams took 8, 9, 10 years, whatever it was, did nothing upon launch, didn't tickle anyone's fancy. Should have been a PC game. It should have been open source PC game, and people could have made all the coolest indie games, but they didn't do that.
Ironically,
never came.
Dreams would do better now.
Yeah.
Now they're releasing, if a joint release PlayStation and PC, I think Dreams would do better now.
Yeah, even now, I think Dreams as a platform would give the tools to people. Like, if you think like how good like Gary's mod and stuff and all the stuff you see for Bethesda games when they embrace the modders, I think this could have been huge.
I actually disagree. I don't think Bethesda embraced the modders. I think they wanted to control them by making their own turn the modders into a storefront.
It's embracing it, right? Financially
Not
as
really.
well.
It's but
I mean, they could have just shut them down and NDA'd them and said you can't use our content at all.
Yeah, but it's like,
but
I don't know. And with Media Molecule, I am genuinely surprised they're still open.
Yeah, the reason, the one reason I think they are around is their current head director for Dreams or something. They won a BAFTA Academy Award. So it's almost like you can't shut down an award-winning studio from an artistic standpoint. You know what I mean? I feel like it ends some lineage there where it's like, okay,
almost 10 years ago,
you
though.
get a pass. You get a pass because of how well
the
it
one
was.
actually BAFTAs in 2012, 2014, and 2016. But it's been a while.
It might not have been BAFTA, it might have been a DICE award.
These are genuinely BAFTA. They genuinely won BAFTAs.
See what I mean? I feel like it's PlayStation. You want to keep that alive just for the gravitas of going like, we've got the BAFTA award-winning studio, Media Molecule, produce Dreams, but then Dreams shit the bed. So it's like, I don't know. I don't think they'll go back to Little Big Planet. I think that the last entry got handed over to brain not working for the name of the studio. They're in Nottingham. They're based in Nottingham. I can't remember what they're actually called, but they made Run Sackboy, not Run Sackboy, Run. Little Big Sumo Digital. Sorry, Sumo Digital, based in Nottingham. Yeah. They did Sackboy's Big Adventure, which was the PS5 launch game, which was a fun little 3D platformer. But I think that IP's now lost all its shine. Where if Media Molecule put out a brand new Little Big Planet 4, I don't think it would get anywhere near what they wanted to do. Which is where I think they're going to do a new IP. It's going to be okay, and I think the reality is in the world we live in now with PS5, it's a long distance from the creativity PS3 saw with the likes of Little Big Planet. I think there just isn't a desire for that type of game anymore.
Yeah, I think Dreams kind of proved that point where was a creator as well. We played on there, where there was a hot moment where everyone was trying to produce these games that make games. And other than Roblox, every single one of them failed.
Yeah. Missed the boat.
It might be others that still exist, but you don't really hear about them. So I really don't know where they go. I'm guessing that they're working on something, because otherwise it does feel like they would have been shut down.
Dreams VR.
Oh, that would be
No, they've said they have confirmed it's a new IP, but that's again why we don't really know. It's not going to be Little Big Planet. It won't be Dreams, but what? Who knows? I just hope they don't go like, oh, we're so about creativity and empowering the players, and they try to do something that's not just a video game. Just, you know what? Go back to your roots and make a video game. Tearaway on the Vita was fantastic. Little Big Planet was fantastic, and then you branched out and made all these, like I said, games. Make games. It's like you make one yourself, for God's sake.
Make a video game that has creative elements and part of the gameplay.
Yeah.
Go back to what you did well.
I think when we look at, I think Media Molecule could make something great, similar to It Takes Two. Like, I feel like they have that like vibe to them, but they just need to make an actual game and stop making games. Yeah. Speaking of games, Bluepoint Games, Richie, are a fantastic studio who've traditionally always done ports. They did the Uncharted collection, and then they did Demon's Souls as well, which was another PS5 launch title, which means alongside the aforementioned Sackboy's Big Adventure, this studio's also been doubling down on making a new entry since the launch of that game. Looks gorgeous for a PS5 launch game. I think it holds up beautifully. It sold really well. It reviewed really well. Then Bluepoint were acquired by PlayStation, so they became first party. And they tweeted out, or it was in a press conference or something, a good many years ago now. They're working on a original story. So not original IP, original story, which could mean new IP, but this led people thinking, well, it's not going to be a follow-up to, it's not going to be Demon's Souls 2, although that would be the obvious choice, it seems.
Yeah.
Again, back to the Ben conversation, I think these are primed to do an Uncharted entry. They did the 3 remastered, they know the layout, they've worked thoroughly on a Naughty Dog game, but I guess they don't have the proven chops of writing a new story, but then that's what they've been given. So I don't know, where would you put them? Do you want Demon's Souls 2? Do you want a new entry in? Hell, these guys could do the Bloodborne sequel.
I was going to mention Bloodborne. Personally, I don't want a Demon's Souls 2 or Bloodborne 2, but they wouldn't be bad choices for Bluepoint to be working on. Mm-hmm. Again, they cut the chops a bit. They've shown they can handle that kind of IP with Demon's Souls. Did very well for them. I feel this is where I want Uncharted, actually.
Right.
Talking before, I said Neil Druckmann from Naughty Dog probably has the outlines of stories. If it is a new story, maybe Bluepoint become the new Uncharted people, because it feels that I can't see Sony wanting to let that IP go.
And they'd be fools not to. In the world where Tomb Raider's not bad and Indiana Jones is first person, like there's a gap. There's such a gap, and Naughty Dog teed it up so well.
It needs a new home, so it's either Bend or Bluepoint should be working on it. The next Uncharted game, whether it's Lost Legacy style, whether it's Uncharted 5, whatever that game is, I think it's Bluepoint. I kind of almost want them to be, but it could be a completely new IP as well. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I think Bend would have done a good job, but I think Bluepoint are the ones that they're almost like free enough to tackle this.
Yeah.
Like they didn't write anything new, but as you said, they've cut their teeth on the collection. And it's a great collection.
Which means they understand the stories inside and out.
Because you have to study them thoroughly to understand them. And yeah, I think you're right. I think Uncharted needs a new home. And I don't know how close Naughty Dog are. Or I guess having Uncharted Golden Abyss shows that they're not overly protective about sharing their IP. And I think they've moved on so much, Naughty Dog, it's like, right, it's about time.
It could be a co-produced game where Bluepoint are doing the heavy lifting and Naughty Dog are consulting on story and gameplay aspects. But they're more doing a consultancy rather than...
Yeah, and I guess that goes back to, I mean, realistically, I'd be quite happy with them going back and just remaking the original trilogy again, but with like modern day, because it's been so long. Like that's the reality of like games take so long now. Is that Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy were 2015 and 16 respectively? It's 2025, Richie. It's been 9 years since those games, which means it's been 15 plus since the original.
And Sony are definitely not against remaking games that didn't need remaking. Last of Us, especially from Naughty Dog.
Yeah, so it's all there and lined up, but we've got to hear about this soon, right? Like I said, the last one was 2019.
My money is either Bloodborne or... Because I think Bloodborne is where they have more license from a FromSoft game to do what they want.
Yeah.
Or Uncharted.
Yeah. I mean, they're primed to do either, right? Similar story. Cut your teeth on Demon's Souls. If Sony own the Bloodborne license, if they can get FromSoft to like consult on it, because again, remember, as of end of last year, Sony own a majority stake in FromSoft's parent studio now. So,
and that could be part of this deal. To be honest, they might be looking at if Bluepoint are working on Demon's Souls 2 or Bloodborne 2.
Yeah.
Sony might have like been in talks like, well, actually, we want a bigger cut of the pie here because we've got something special.
Absolutely. But moving on though, because we have been going for quite some time, so as we usually do with these type of discussions, Haven Studios, Richie. We obviously have a personal history with Haven because we covered them with Google Stadia. Jade Raymond left to work for Google Stadia, formed a studio, was working on a fantastic new game that only the power of the cloud could make, and then Google shit the bed. The rest is history with that one. But then they did something over there with whatever they were incubating that Sony quickly had a look at them and went, oh, this Haven Studio that Jade spun off from Google, took all the talent with them, and then they had a little sneak peek at the PlayStation, and then out of nowhere they're like, you know what, we're buying them. They saw something enough to just acquire the studio outright before any real content was made. So there was clearly a concept that's been in incubation for probably 5 plus 6 years now. Then we got a trailer at last year's kind of Summer Game Fest, the PlayStation Showcase. We saw it showed off. It looks fun, but at the same time, I think this is going to be Concord 2.0.
I don't think that harsh, but because Concord is something special. How much that failed.
Yeah.
I don't think this is doing what they did. I think they may have jumped the gun with buying Haven because this was around the time they were pivoting to more games as a service stuff. So they're seeing something that looked decent and they had a decent concept.
Yeah.
But are they behind the times?
Yeah, the trailer, from what we know from the trailer, it looks as though it's going to be Rainbow Six Siege, but you are collectively as a team. I think it was 3 teams versus 3, if I recall. And you're trying to rob from the rich to essentially distribute back to the poor, which is Fair Games. It's very centered around kind of money and credits, and every time you kill someone or you break into the vault, you have to get your money back at the end of it. But at the same time, I think it runs the risk of having that Fortnite stink on it, where it's like everything's a cool bright neon pink skin and everyone has fluffy cat ears and we're all shooting each other, and you're only, when we struggled playing X Defiant, where it's like you die every 35 seconds
because you're just not good enough.
Yeah, there's no story. It's just like loose threads of like, oh, he's a cool crypto hacker and he's someone who's a weapons expert with lasers and drones, and it's like the Watch Dogs problem as well. It's like the future tech thing is cool, but you risk almost making it too contemporary, where it's like, yeah, no one gives a shit about this. It's not cyberpunk cool. It's not Matrix cool. You're just stuck somewhere in the middle where you splash neon paint over everything, and no one gives a shit because it all looks the same. And that's why I worry massively for this. And they're also an unproven studio, remember? So like they've actually never put out a game, so they've got no track record.
You're making a game with a lot of things that appeal to like a younger audience who don't care about your new game because they're playing Fortnite and they're playing Call of Duty and they're playing
Minecraft.
They're playing Minecraft and stuff that already exists, and you haven't given them a reason to jump over.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to fail as hard as Concord.
It's definitely got a better concept, I think.
I think it might see out a year.
Did they put a year on this? I know we got a reveal trailer, but I don't feel like they actually said when, because that was the state of play where they showed off like 5 live service games. I think you and me actually might have done a watch along to it, where at the end we were like, none of it really for us. Between Concord, Fairgames, Marathon, I think was the third one, and maybe something else. And I think you and me finished going like, it looked okay, but not really our PlayStation, as we would put it.
I think this could be a 2025 game, actually. I think it's about time. It was revealed 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it's been in production before then.
Yeah,
surely it's time.
Surely.
And the only thing that so far I'm predicting for 2025 goes to Yotei, so they probably need something else.
Yeah. Again, if Xbox are looking to get a game out every quarter, PlayStation need to keep up with maybe like at least 3 a year. You would expect.
I think this could be a summer game.
Yeah, I think summer's probably about the right time.
With Ghost of Yotei taking the winter.
Yeah, but what's coming at the start of the year?
God knows.
We'll see. Well, exactly. Moving on to probably one we can get over quite quickly, which is Insomniac. Because we know the rate they put out games is, I wouldn't be surprised if they suddenly went, oh, you guess what's coming out this autumn? We've had Spider-Man 2 as the last entry, but thanks to the massive leaks and hacks, we know quite a lot about what their pipeline looks like. Again, sorry if you haven't listened to hacks, but spoilers, there's a Venom game in the works, which I suspect is going to be like a Miles Morales style size game, which probably for me tells me that's the next entry. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a Venom game this autumn.
I think it's Venom, Wolverine, Spider-Man 3.
And then after that, it's X-Men was in the pipeline, right? So yeah, I think that's a decent enough cadence. So yeah, Venom this autumn into Christmas. And then probably next summer heading into Wolverine. Because Wolverine was teased quite a long time ago now when you think about it.
It was, yeah.
So that would sound about right. And then, then you get, I guess, 2-3 years free production time away from the Spider-Man and Wolverine world to, I guess, go into wrapping up Peter Parker's story, and which inevitably will lead us into X-Men, right? Do you think Wolverine and Spider-Man are inevitably going to be connected up at some point? Like, he's in the same world, right? Like, he has to be.
Yeah, I think so. It feels like if they're going to make their own Marvel universe, why not do it? Why not do the thing?
Yeah. This is the opportunity, right? You've got an absolute stellar hit on your hands with Spider-Man. Miles
it's a cameo.
Super well.
It's a Miles Morales cameo in a Wolverine game.
Yeah, do it. Do the team.
Yeah.
I think so. Do we all agree that Peter's probably going to die in the next one? And Miles is going to take over?
I feel like,
There's definitely a few comic book runs.
Or retire.
Yeah, give him a happy ending. No one ever. It doesn't always need to die.
He could be the guy in the chair.
He could go into the multiverse and just have a peaceful life with MJ. Who knows?
He could just go back to being a scientist and works on Miles Tech.
Yeah, he could do.
As he's retired.
So we know all about that one. A little one, I guess I touched on it a little bit, but one that it's technically not really the first party, but we got Marathon from Bungie. You know what? I'm going to say it. I think this has the same thing Fairgames has on it. It's got the Bungie gravitas, But I feel like the way Destiny is kind of like slowly started to degrade over time, and then bringing back Marathon, I feel like it could have the hype behind it. But that short snippet trailer we showed off, if you just put the Fairgames logo at the end, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you which was which. Or the Concord trailer. You know what I mean? It's like, Bungie have a lot of goodwill, and they've got a proven track record. I think they would have been safer doing Destiny 3.
I think so as well. It's probably time for Destiny 3 as well.
It's been 10 years
since two.
Like, they had a 10-year plan, like, was their initial, like, promise to fans.
And it feels like the paint chipping on Destiny 2 at the moment. It doesn't seem to have the same esteem as it once did. It feels like it's coming to an end of that cycle for Destiny 2.
Well, again, your 10-year...
Maybe this is the point of Marathon, to have something between Destiny entries.
Yeah.
Just a bridge. So we'll bring out Marathon, another games as a service, but then we're moving on to Destiny 3.
Yeah. And there is that reality where over 10 years and then probably, 6-7 years for the original Destiny, your audience who've been playing Destiny from the beginning, you're talking 15 to 20 years later in their lives. So everyone who had all that free time we spoke about at the beginning of the show, of like a 20-something-year-old with all their money and time in the world, staying up till 3-4 o'clock on the grind for a raid, they all now have probably kids, families, or jobs, or they're in bed a little bit earlier than maybe beforehand. Like, they can't keep coming back for time and time again.
Wasn't the 10-year roadmap for Destiny related to Destiny 1, then they brought up Destiny 2? Because it's 11 years now. It's come up to 11 years since Destiny 1.
No, possibly. It's been a while. I've played both.
That kind of 10-year roadmap might have just literally come to an end. So then Marathon's the next game they're bringing back.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't get a Destiny 3.
I think it
maybe. I think they should, because I think the best thing they can do for the Destiny as a franchise actually is a Destiny 3 to give players a new jumping in point.
Yeah.
Because remember when we jumped into Destiny 2, it was like, there's so much stuff and the game doesn't, because they've changed it, the level, they got rid of the leveling up system, then changed things, and they got rid of some of the stories, so you just dropped into the hub world and they're going, what do I do? How do I play this game?
Shoot.
Yeah. It's a bit overwhelming for new players, which means that your player base is only going to degrade over time. So I think a fresh starting point is probably right.
Yeah, I agree.
But do they want to try and save that for a PS6?
Yeah, I think whatever the next Destiny entry be, I think they'd be smart to go like.
I feel like Destiny 3
service.
for me. Destiny 3 for me is a cross-generation PS5, PS6 game.
Yeah.
So you're getting the install base of the PS5, but then you're also using it to push the PS6.
Yeah. The
best place to play Destiny 3 is PS6, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I don't think, and when I say live service, obviously it's going to be live service. I mean, Destiny 3 should be just like a live service. Well, like it should be Destiny, no number, just Destiny, comma something, Destiny Galaxy, Destiny Universe, whatever it is.
Keep it clean.
Yeah.
It became, as if for new players, I know long-standing Destiny players might disagree here, but as a new player jumping into Destiny 2, when it was like a few years ago, so about 5 years after launch, it was a mess.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing. I hated the fact there was no level up system. Like, commit to it being an MMO first-person shooter.
Yeah.
And so what if your new players can't play the end-game content? They'll get there eventually.
If they like it.
Just leave it in there, leave it clean.
Absolutely.
But
yes. Final two studios we've got, Richie. We've got Sony San Diego, which I think a lot of people often forget about. Those are the guys who work on MLB The Show, which is your yearly baseball entry. I think everyone Europe side probably doesn't really care. Everyone stateside loves it. It's the best baseball game there is going.
Rounders.
Cricket.
A good old game of stickball.
Stickball. That'll just keep doing what it's doing. Again, they put it out on PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. So this is actually the only PlayStation studio that puts games out on all platforms.
Yeah.
So there's almost like a credit where credit's due thing to them. Like that's quite unique. That
might be a licensing agreement with MLB.
It 100% was, because it used to be exclusive, and then I think to renew the license, MLB were like, we want this on every platform, and it's you either take it or you don't get to make these games. And Sony were obviously like, well, we make enough money from MLB games we want to keep doing it.
So, okay, if you want to buy this on Xbox, we'll take 30%, 40% of what that profit, whatever it is.
Yeah. They basically played hardball like FIFA did with FIFA 2 EA, but EA went, we don't need FIFA, fuck you, and just decided to make their own. And it made
FIFA 10
no
round,
difference.
Look at the competition, went, now we're good.
We'll pass.
EA Sports FC it is.
Yeah. Whereas I think with MLB, because it's not as popular as, well, football, soccer, is that I think they worried someone like 2K would come in and go, we'll do an MLB game. And Sony went, no, we'll do it. We'll do it multi-platform. Don't worry, we're cool. We'll do it. And to their credit, they've probably made more money with it being on the Switch and on the Xbox.
Oh, probably.
So unintentionally, they've made a non-exclusive exclusive, and they've made money. So interesting. And then last but not least, in the first party umbrella of studios, we've got Sony Santa Monica, of course, famous recently for God of War. Richie, we had God of War Valhalla kickstarted off last year.
Was that a year ago?
January we got Valhalla. Well, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla.
Oh, of course, wasn't that announced at the Game Awards?
Yeah, and it was like out now, the roguelike version of God of War, and it's terrific. So fill your boots on that one. Obviously, the story, I guess, for those who haven't played it, that story arc is over, but there is plenty that could be done. But at the same time, we know Cory Barlog, the previous director of the 2018 reboot, he's been consulting on the last game, but he wasn't the director. He went off and formed his own. Back to what we spoke about earlier on with infamous Sucker Punch.
It's a 2-game studio.
It's a 2-game studio. Yeah, he's been working on that with a smaller team, probably a bigger team, for quite some time. And if he's been doing that since 2018, Richie, I think we could see what he's been working on some point this year too. This is why they're primed for a showcase. They're absolutely primed for a showcase. But
what comes first? The next God of War. I think that you could do a God of War, what do you call it, like Uncharted, a God of War Lost Legacy kind of, a smaller title focused on other characters, not Kratos as the main character.
Yeah, I completely agree.
You can come back to Kratos for another Pantheon later.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of levels.
Stay in the Norse thing, which that could be the next game while they're biding time for the new IP.
Well, you've got your assets for everything Norse made. I think, similar to the game, if you remember in Ragnarok, there was a couple of levels where you play as Atreus and you meet other people, and Kratos just isn't even around.
Yeah.
I think a game focused on just some little mini adventures with Atreus in that world would do me.
I feel Ragnarok sets up Atreus to potentially helm his own game. You play him enough, and it is more like a dual protagonist game.
Yeah, I agree.
Mainly Kratos, but a smaller title in the size of like a Lost Legacy was to like Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
As Atreus could kind of continue his story.
Yeah.
Kratos can still be in there, but I don't think he's the focus. It's not his story, it's Atreus' story, the next one. And
PlayStation have a legacy for doing that. Like you mentioned Lost Legacy, we've had Miles Morales, we had infamous First Light. So every studio traditionally has made a separate standalone, almost like mini experience, except for Santa Monica. So we got Valhalla, so they're clearly happy to go back and work on smaller things and additions and features. But yeah, I would love, like, imagine just like for next winter, next Christmas, they're just like, yeah, there's a smaller Trace story that just kind of wraps up his little piece from Ragnarok.
It's a 20-hour game. Yeah. $50 price point. He's a 20 to 30-hour game.
Yeah,
fill your boots.
And there's enough characters in Ragnarok to like create like another little mini cast list too. You get to explore more of their lives as well. Like maybe Atreus gets to take Mamiya with him while they go and hang out with, was it Agraboda or something? Was the girl? And maybe he bumps in. Maybe he goes to another one of the realms that we've not seen before.
That's it. 'Cause not every realm was opened up, so you bring back the whole like central hub.
Yep.
Because you can just go to more realms. God. It's there. Like.
Ragnarok was so good, wasn't it?
It was
so good. But that's all the first party. We wouldn't be amiss before we continue to maybe take a glance at some of the second party for the year ahead. I think we can all agree Helldivers is probably going to see a lot more for 2025. Of course, that's Arrowhead's second party. I think Sony would be daft to not buy these guys now, right?
Yeah.
Like the success and I guess the re-success of the Omens of Tyranny that just launched for free over the Christmas period. It saw like huge boosts in numbers. They've said they want to support it for years to come. this is PlayStation's Sleeper Live service hit, which they almost stumbled on and almost spared their blushes of Concord because Helldivers did so well. So it balanced the books financially for them.
It almost feels more of a when rather than if with Arrowhead's purchase, to be honest.
Yeah.
It might take a while. I think it might be after April. The new financial year, so it's on the next set of books.
Yeah, I think that's a smart choice, yeah. And it's one of the things, inevitably, if you snap them up now and then you just get them to work eventually on a Helldivers 3, I feel like Helldivers 3 would have just as like a big hit. You're almost like guaranteed to make money in like 7-8 years' time with Helldivers 3. Just because 100%. Of how successful 2 launched. So as long as you don't mess with the formula, in like, can you imagine in 8 years' time when all like the 12, 13-year-olds are like 20 odd and they message all their mates, go, mate, have you seen the Helldivers 3 trailer? It's out this year. Like,
shit, it's happening.
Can you remember when we were in school and this is all we played together? Or like people like me who are like, remember Helldivers 2 after Helldivers 1 you played?
My brother was playing Helldivers on PC.
There you go. So yeah, it's got enough zeitgeist to it that I think it would do wonders. So yeah, buy Arrowhead. Get them in the bank. Like again, if you're going out there and buying like Firewalk and Firesprite, I feel like Arrowhead have done more than enough to like be a solid acquisition. You've worked with them on 2 exclusive games now. You've seen huge success, surprise success in the recent one. Just put a ring on it.
The only thing is that appetite has to be there for both parties.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's not a guarantee.
So it might just be a case of Arrowhead going, no, we're good. We're happy to work with you. We're happy to do exclusives, but we're quite happy with what we're doing.
Yeah.
And it might just be a case of we like the idea of, you know what, if we're done when we're done with Helldivers, going off to do something completely different and having our options fully open. It might be one of them situations.
Yeah.
Or maybe it might just be a case of quibbling over the size of the bag of money. Like,
yeah, just lock them down.
You don't know. It's like...
Absolutely not. Did you see the news this week? It was the studio head tweeting out over New Year and Christmas. They did have a pitch for a game called, it built into the Helldivers universe, called Eagles of Democracy. And it was going to be a Star Fox style game set in the Helldivers universe where you fly around in like MiGs and jets and stuff and shoot shit down, cool. But for freedom and democracy, I guess. Yeah. Killing the same bad guys.
Like, you don't get many on rails shooters anymore.
You don't. But you know what that tells me? Reading between the lines, I think they're going to add jets or something into Helldivers, where if you call in a airstrike, someone on your team or maybe someone else playing a different style game could help out in real time. I just think it's almost like too perfect of a match. I could see us watching a trailer at next year's Game Awards for Helldivers 2 Eagles of Democracy, and it's a whole new expansion that's a different vehicle type, a different way to play, but in the Helldivers world. I think it's
almost a different game mode type. Yeah. So instead of a different drop in, you could like Star Wars Battlefront.
Yeah,
you had some space battles and you had some ground battles,
different phases.
And you had some combined.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
imagine like if you had a power up where you could just like go right, and now I'm calling in a fighter jet, and now you take control of the fighter jet for a few minutes.
Yeah,
to clear out.
Well, I mean, the way Helldivers are set up is obviously you've not played it, but you're on your mothership above a planet's orbit, and you basically get into your little hell pod. You pick your layout, you pick your weapons and stuff, your stratagems, and then you launch down in the pod into the ground, and then you're there. You're in the world. You start your mission. All they would have to do is go when you come out of hyperspace into that planet's orbit. They go, we can't land yet because there's a fleet of the enemy waiting above the planet. We need to take them out before we're able to land. And then you get an option to do shuttle runs in this Star Fox style game instead. And it's called Eagles of Democracy. It writes itself. Do it. And if you want to support the game for the many years to come, you can't just keep doing the same content. You need to mix it up a bit. So yeah, I think it should be great. So yeah, what you doing? And then the last one I guess we know about, Richie, we definitely can't miss out. And that's Death Stranding 2. Terrible name, on the beach, coming this year. This does have a 2025 date. We don't have a window, but again, it's been a good couple of years since Kojima brought out Death Stranding. We've seen about 20-30 minutes worth of trailers for this game already. Didn't see it at the Game Awards, funnily enough, which Kojima was there, but for some reason he didn't get the same time as he usually does. Death Stranding is one of them exclusives that I feel like I need to get round to before the new one comes out. It's It's
I don't think I
Kojima.
do.
It's reviewed really well. It looks gorgeous, and I'm like, I might enjoy it. And I'm like, I feel like I need to give it a fair shake before 2 comes out, just so I can make that decision. Do I want to be there day 1 for 2, or is this game just not for me?
I have a very, very small passing interest. I remember the marketing for Death Stranding being all about Kojima's next game rather than being about the game itself.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that was one of the things that put me off it. Because I always got the impression of, why aren't they talking about what the game is?
Yeah.
Why are they hiding behind Kojima? I think I was wrong because it did review well. And I think it would be a really good game. But I have still yet to see any real reason to play either of these games. They just look weird.
Yeah.
You know, when somebody I just feel like it looks weird for the sake of being weird.
That's Kojima, right?
There is probably, I guess, solid artistic vision in there, but there's a million other games that I know that I want to play.
Yeah, I've heard it's very polarized. You'll either love it or you won't enjoy it. So it's I feel like I need to give it a fair shake just to make my own assumptions. But yeah, you're right. It's very much Kojima going. A Kojima game produced by Kojima, written by Kojima, made by Kojima. You've got about 100 credits and it's all just his name several times over. And nobody knows what the fuck's going on. But we can definitely agree. It looks gorgeous.
Even when I've asked people who've played it, and they go, "Oh, you're this guy with a baby strapped to him, and you deliver parcels."
Yeah.
What? So why is it? Why is that fun? Like, tell me more. And I've just never really got answers to that question. This is a good one for the comments or Discord. Like, why should I play Death Stranding? Try and explain to me why you should play Death Stranding. Yeah.
And should I just watch a big 7-hour movie?
Yeah.
On it. Yeah, interesting one. Lots to do, lots to see, and no doubt we'll see more of this. This is, I think, would round out a PlayStation Showcase or State of Play heading into this year, because between that and Ghost of Yotei, that could be 2 of their big ones. Yeah. And probably Fairgames is definitely going to come out at some point.
Either Fairgames or what was the other one? Marathon is this year, I reckon.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe even both. Probably not.
Probably not. But yeah, that I guess gives us a good in-depth look at the year ahead for PlayStation. Some things we will see, some things we won't. Hopefully they'll be a little bit more open with talking about it. Really, really push for, I think, shifting some units of PlayStation 5 in the year and beyond. Because, yeah, you can only go off goodwill for so long. And I think not having your own first-party studios there, it's a bit of like a elephant in the room kind of scenario. It's like, but now we do know, to their credit, we doubt... 2-3 months ago, we didn't know about Ghost of Yotei, we didn't know about Intergalactic, and now we do. So they are starting to peel back the curtain, but I do want just like that banger showcase where you and me sit at the end and go, that was immense. We saw like the future of PlayStation, and I cannot wait.
Do you feel Intergalactic being at the Game Awards was Sony going, just trying to whet our appetites as well before a showcase?
I hope so.
When, you know what? We're not going to talk about Intergalactic in our next showcase, so we're going to talk about here. Just to go, we've talked about it. We'll put that aside for now. Forget about that. Here's what we've got for you coming in 2024. That's what I want. I want an idea. If I was running Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, either December or January, I'd be going, this is what we've got. You can expect from us this year. Yeah. And then mid-year, I'd be coming back and going, this is what you can expect for us the rest of the year. And first half of 2026. Yeah. And almost have that 6 month, try and get that 6 monthly cadence.
Yeah, double punch.
Yeah.
And don't forget GTA 6.
And you can have small stuff in between, but yeah.
It's coming, and probably more stuff down the pipeline. But that's the 2025 year ahead. I'm excited. We're excited. You should be excited, of course. We've got a fantastic 2025 ahead here for the channel as well. We've got new shows coming as well in the form of the Clickercast. We'll be back for The Last of Us Season 2 some point in the spring. We've got our live streams, our games to remember. Let us know in the comments of the Discord what you'd like us to play this coming week. We're happy to take on a new series together, me and Richie playing on the sticks. Of course, we'll do live streams and everything in between. But Richie, that brings us to an end of our first full official game of the year. Obviously there was an episode that went out this week, but it was crossover 24-25, so we're finally here kickstarting things off once again. But we do end every episode with looking back at this day in video game history. January 3rd, not a great day for releases, I'm going to predict. Richie, anything stand out for you?
I haven't looked.
Well, there's absolutely nothing.
15
15 years ago, Tony Hawk 9 on the BlackBerry. There's one for you.
Yeah, there's nothing.
My Little Pony, Pocket
Today?
Ponies.
Tower Defense came out on PC.
Tower Defense. South Park Rally came out 25 years ago on the PlayStation, the original one. But yeah, other than that, January doesn't seem... I mean, traditionally, January was a terrible time for video game releases, full stop. And it was only, I feel like, the PS4 generation when people started to go in, like, the March and the April, if you remember.
It was Horizon Zero Dawn kind of booked the trend, didn't it?
Well, it was Horizon and Zelda, if you remember, went in the March.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, shit. And that kickstarted the year off. And I feel like now we get everything. We've got Dynasty Warriors Origins coming soon. We've got Monster Hunter Wilds coming soon. Like, the start of this year is stacked. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, February. You've got 3 months with 3 banger AAA titles already lined up. In previous years, you get nothing. So, yeah, no games in the history, but that trend will be very much booked in 2025. But don't forget, like, subscribe, ring that bell so you kept in the loop with all the great content we do here. Of course, if you want to support the channel extra little bit more, you can click join down below, become a member, become a guild hero, and support us that extra little bit further. As we try and grow our channel, we grow our content. Recently passed that wonderful 2K mark, and we couldn't do it without your wonderful support. But that's been episode 73. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been GamerGuildTV, folks, and remember, play wherever makes you the happiest. We'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Goodbye.